We're now ready to go over the input settings associated with controlling how LEXi enters a trade more precisely. Up to now we've been using very basic settings telling LEXi to just get in to this trade. We're now going to tell it, let's get in on an opening range breakout, which is the mode that it's designed to run in. So the first thing we want to do is pick the number of bars we're going to use to compute our opening range, the range that we're going to use. So a one bar would be one 5-minute bar, which is an opening range of 5 minutes. When we select that, you notice that LEXi is changed. We've now got a green line, and this line, when it's live, is movable. That line is placed at the high of the first bar, the 5-minute, so that's the 5-minute opening range high. We also get a trade now on the breakout of this bar above that opening range, and our entry price is at the close of the bar. Now the entry price is determined by some settings. The entry itself, because remember we have intra-bar order generation on always, it's going to use the high of the bar to determine whether you should have gotten in or not, and it's going to use the close of the bar to determine your entry price. You could make it more precise by turning on look inside bar backtesting, and you could either for a 5-minute bar you could turn it on for 1 minute, so those are 1-minute intervals inside a 5-minute bar, and when you do that, you'll see you're going to get a different entry price, and that entry price is 127.80, which is a price inside the 5-minute bar, the close of the first 1 minute that we're looking inside. If we wanted to, we can go even more precise and go tick by tick, but that will slow everything way down. So for backtesting, usually it's good enough to use it. For our purposes, we're going to make it very fast and just use the close of the bars for our signals. Okay. But just to review, if you turn that on, your entry price is now at 127.80. Your signal is based on the high of the bar breaking above that entry point sometime in that first minute. And if we change it back by turning this off, everything is on the close of the bar, and our entry's at the bar close right there. But we did break out during this bar, and so we were good to enter. And that's a standard opening range breakout on a 1 with OR bar set to 1 on a 5-minute bar. Now suppose instead we change this OR bar setting to 2 bars. Well, now we're going to be looking at a 10-minute, 2 5-minute bars opening range breakout. Now you see that our green entry line here that LEXi draws starts after 2 bars, even though it's at the same price level, and even though our breakout is the same. It turned out that the first bar, which is not unusual and which is why opening range breakouts work, was pretty close to the high of the day, and we get this breakout, but just briefly, very early in the day, and then the market goes down. So that will bring us to some of our other settings. Okay. Now we're going to want a helper to see that, because we're going to put this back to 1, and now it's our 5-minute OR breakout. And the next setting we want to look at is going to involve we're going to want a helper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert our show me, the opening range high show me, with default settings. Now when you have the opening range show me in there, it's going to draw a line at the OR high, whether or not LEXi is drawing that line. And so it's a reference line. If we move the LEXi line out of the way, we'll see here's our show me, here's the price, and it's our OR high. In our indicator, we also have the ability to set an entry offset ATR percentage, which is a fudge factor above the actual OR high, because it's not unusual to get a head fake like this bar. We really didn't want to get in here. It was not a real opening range breakout. We just happened to tick above it by a fraction of a point. So we're going to have, we could, to prevent this in LEXi, and I'm going to temporarily turn off the OR indicator, and I'm going to have LEXi redraw the line at the OR high. We could tell LEXi, you know what, I don't want that line exactly on the OR high. I want it to be, I don't know, 25 cents above it, just to give it a fudge factor. Now I'm not going to get in. In fact, I may just want it to be 2 cents. And it's going to draw the line 2 cents above the OR high, which in this particular case avoids that head fake, and we don't get the entry. Now, it's often convenient to have a template that works on all symbols, and 2 cents works for SPYs, but you might want a dime on a more expensive stock, or a penny on a cheaper stock. Well, instead of using a fixed dollar amount, we have the ability to use a percentage of the average true range for the symbol that we're looking at. There's one gotcha though. In order to use the average true range, you're going to need to go down here and change the average true range length to a valid number. Typically, that's going to be 10. Now, when you have 10 days of, when you have a 10-day ATR, you need to compute. You're going to need 10 days of data. So when you try and use that, guess what? You get our famous runtime error, and the runtime error says, I don't have enough days to compute the ATR. Well, to clear that error, it's pretty simple. We have to go through two things. First, we've got to get enough days of data. Let's get 12 just to give us extra room to do our 10-day ATR calculation. So we now have 10 days of data, and let me just format this signal. Okay, and there's our 10 days with my fat bars. And now I have to turn the strategy back on. Remember, the runtime error turns it off. I'm turning it back on. We still have the same settings we have. We've got ATR length set to 10 though. And if we have enough days, we no longer get our error. And we get an entry. We have an entry at a different day because I asked for 11 days. Rather than make it on a different day than we're looking at, let me go in here and just see if we set this to 10 days back. So we don't get our trade, so we need 11 days back in order to get our trade. Alright, there we are. We've got 11 days back. We still have our 2 cent. If we put it back to 0, we'll get the old trade that we had before. There it is. Okay, but this time we're going to say, you know what? Instead of 2 cents, first we're going to go. Now we have enough days. We're going to turn our handy dandy little function here, and we're going to say, you know what? I want to use 3%.